Put your question.
Thank you, Cathaoirleach. Minister, we all are aware that there is serious overcrowding on practically all modes of public transport presently. And while I acknowledge that Project 2040 does allocate certain funding for Bus Connects and Metro North and other public transport projects, but can I ask you specifically, and if you answer the question that I'm asking, you may be able to state the time, what measures do you intend to take here and now to address this chronic overcrowding?
Thank you, Deputy Troy. All of us are aware that increasing numbers of people are choosing to use public transport. And all of us will, I'm sure, welcome that fact. The Deputy is right to say that these increases can cause pressures at certain times and in certain places on the capacity of the public transport system. And I hope the Deputy will acknowledge that there are short, medium and longer term responses required in order to deal with those pressures. My priority over the next few years is to increase investment in public transport infrastructure and services across the country. So that is why I provided funding in the NTA to introduce measures such as expanding the PSO bus fleets across the country, increasing and improving PSO bus services, introducing 10-minute DART services, increasing usage of the Phoenix Park Tunnel for Kildare Line commuters, expanding off-peak services generally across the rail network, increasing funding of the heavy rail network to steady-state levels, and introducing longer trams on the newly extended Lewis Green Line. In the medium term, I'm providing increased funding to the NTA to continue to expand PSO bus fleets, which will increase again this year, deliver new and improved cycling and walking infrastructure with a number of important projects starting construction this year, complete the city centre re-signalling project, which will benefit rail services, explore and secure medium-term solutions to capacity constraints on the rail network, extend all trams on the Lewis Green Line and purchase 8 additional trams, which we expect to begin to arrive by Q4 this year. In the longer term, I'm of course working with my government colleagues in delivering upon the ambition of Project Dáil Éireann 2040 and its national strategic objectives. This involves major transformative projects such as Bus Connects in all the major cities, DART expansion, Metrolink, the National Train Control Centre, and the development of strategic cycling networks. Together, these will have a significant and positive impact for people in using our public transport system. I can assure the Deputy that this government is committed to achieving a modern, efficient and effective integrated public transport system across the countries. And the measure I have outlined above will support the shift towards sustainable transport.
Thank you. Well, Minister, anybody listening in, and if there were some of the commuters who were standing at a bus stop this morning as multiple buses drove by them, or if there were some of the commuters taking the DART or a commuter rail into work or study, and they were packed like sardines on a tin, they're not going to be overly relieved by your answer here this morning. There are reports this morning that there's 30 million euros of savings to come from your department in relation to the overspend in the National Children's Hospital. Can you confirm on the record of the Dáil that this will not have any impact on our public transport network and will not have any impact on our roads budget? Can you also confirm when new train carriages, when the tender for new train carriages will be issued and when we can expect delivery of new train carriages? And in relation to the new buses that you said are coming on stream, I understand that there's 150 buses to be delivered to Dublin Bus before July of this year. How many of those buses have been delivered to date, and how many of those buses will be replacement or additional buses, not simply replacement buses?
Thank you very much, Minister. 1 minute.
Thank you, Deputy, for your question. The issue of the cuts as a result of because of the National Children's Hospital overrun is something which I'm very happy to address. I can confirm to you quite categorically that there will not be any cuts in any projects or any roads as a result of this. I think it's important that you should know this. It will not have any impact on our public transport projects. You'll have seen that it's 27 million, and it's a result of a decision of a planning of a decision in Northern Ireland about the A5, which will mean that the project payment doesn't have to be made until 2020. That's very important because it means that that 27 million is a saving made by my department, and it will not affect in any way a project like a road or Bus Connects or any of those projects which I know are so dear to the deputy's heart.
Thank you very much. Final minute.
Well, Minister, it's 27 million of 30 million cuts to your department, I understand. And I'd have to ask the question in relation to the A5, why your department had ring-fenced 27 million towards this project at a time when your department would have been well aware that this money wouldn't have been necessary for 2019. So just to put you on the record, we will be keeping a close eye to make sure that your commitment in relation that there will be no cuts, no prioritisation of schemes, as you like to describe it, going forward. And can I ask again, in relation to the rollout of additional services here and now, of the 150 buses that were due to be delivered before July of this year to Dublin Bus, how many of those buses will be replacement buses? How many have been delivered to date? And in relation to additional rail carriages, when will the tender be issued, and when can we expect delivery of the much needed additional rail carriages? And in the interim, when we're waiting on rail carriages, will you look at putting in bus services to supplement chronic overcrowding on our rail network that currently exists?
Thank you very much. Final minute, Minister.
I'll always look at anything. I'll always urge the NTA to look at anything which might be a solution, but I'm sure that they're looking at it already. I'm sure they regularly look at alternative suggestions if there is overcrowding in various areas, and indeed the overcrowding to which you have spoken, about which you've spoken, certainly applies sometimes to various services. Alternatives are looked at, produced, and indeed in terms of the Lewis, there are promises that there will be alternative buses if there is overcrowding or if there are delays or disruption during the building of the metro. On the issue of the ring fencing, the money is there for the A5. It's a north-south deal, as the Deputy will be fully aware, and that project will go ahead as planned. It is simply a timing difference as a result of a decision which was made outside the jurisdiction, and there is absolutely no threat to that project or to any other project as a result of what happened in the National Children's Hospital. Let me just say, in terms of an overall time frame, double-decker buses, I think you're talking about, they have an optimal life of about 12 years, and the NTA's current fleet strategy envisages a continual fleet replacement programme of about 1/12 of the fleet each year, which equates to approximately 95 buses being replaced each year out of a total current complement of 1,136 vehicles.
Thank you. Well, I'm the chair, so you'll have to take up that with the Cancor or whoever else.